The presidential news conference has become a staple of the modern presidency, with not much changing over the years, except for the composition of the press itself. Here is President Lyndon B. Johnson with reporters in the Oval Office back in 1968. You see it, Helen Thomas there, the lone woman up front. Here is President Obama today.
Josh has given me the who's been naughty and who's been nice list, and we're going to start with Kerry Buda. Brown, political. Cheryl Boland, you've been naughty. Cheryl, go ahead. Go ahead. Julie Pace, Leslie Clark, Roberta Rampton. There you go. McCain Nelson. I think this is going to be our last question. Juliet Halspern. April, go ahead.
It was a historic day. President Obama only took questions from female reporters at the solo White House press conference in this afternoon, and the president seemed particularly relaxed and confident. It was little more than a month ago that he was meeting with Republican leaders after that GOP sweep, and the backdrop was the threats from ISIS, the problems with Ebola. Today, Ebola seems contained on the home front for now, and with a stream of good economic news, the job numbers, falling gas prices, and a steady show of presidential power on the executive action and the breakthroughs in foreign policy, the president basically presided over a jam-packed, successful year-end press conference. Joining me to explain it all, Adam Frankel, former speechwriter and former special assistant to President Obama, and Leslie Clark, White House correspondent from McClatchy, who was one of the reporters who asked a question at today's presser. Let me start with you on that note, Leslie. The president felt that he had a lot of good news to spread, and he went through that list of reporters that we saw there.
Yeah, he did seem to do a little bit of a victory lap on the economy and other things, but we tried to hit him on a number of issues.
And what did you make, though, of what he got across today?
Well, he seemed to hit everything that he wanted to do, and I think by selecting some of the reporters that he did, he got to go to questions that he wanted to talk about. I asked him about Cuba. I work for McClatchy newspapers, and one of our largest papers is the Miami Herald, so that's sort of an obvious interest area for us.
Yeah, let's play actually his part of his Cuba answer.
Right.
I think that ultimately we need to go ahead and pull down the embargo, which I think has been self-defeating in advancing the aims that we're interested in. But I don't anticipate that that happens right away. I think people are going to want to see how does this move forward.
And your thoughts on his response there, obviously continuing to push the executive approach to this breakthrough?
Yeah, well, that wasn't a surprise. I tried to cram in about 20 questions into about 2 seconds of questioning, so I didn't get all the answers I would have liked to have gotten, but it's a start.
And let me go to Adam, get your thoughts on how the White House approaches this. You've been there, you've consulted and written for this president, but let me play the sort of series of some of the other domestic good news here that he was able to tout. Take a listen.
The strongest year for job growth since the 1990s. America is now the #1 producer of oil, the #1 producer of natural gas. We're saving drivers about 70 cents a gallon at the pump over last Christmas. We've now repaid taxpayers every dime and more of what my administration committed, and the American auto industry is on track for its strongest year since 2005. Thanks to the Affordable Care Act, about 10 million Americans have gained health insurance just this past year.
That's all true. I mean, those are just facts. He's listing more than high-sailing rhetoric. And I know when you were at the White House, you worked specifically on the president's approach to the auto sector.
I did. Yes. And when the president gave the speech about auto restructuring, he said afterwards, I asked him, how did you think that went? And he said, I just want to give the American people some good cheer. I'm tired of giving all this tough news. And there was some good cheer that was delivered today. You know, I think that when historians look back on this period of the presidency, they're going to see a period when there's a playing out of the reforms and investments that he made early on, whether it's the economy, strongest year of job growth since the 90s, as we just heard, healthcare, 10 million new people covered, and auto industry, and a range of others. We talk about the climate agreement that he reached with China. I mean, that was a commitment that he made in the early days of the campaign. In Iowa, he talked about climate reform, addressing climate change. So I think that, you know, you can look at presidential terms in phases, and this phase is really sort of the sowing of the seeds that were planted early on.
And so walk us through, since you've been there, how do you do that? Because they used to say in the media, if it bleeds, it leads. With healthcare, you know, if it's broken, It's a top story with the website. Now you have the rate of the uninsured crashing in a way that no other modern president has achieved, but we all know it's not the lead story.
And this was all predicted. When we were talking about health care reform, when we were trying to get it done, the president would say in just about every speech, you know, this is all controversial now, but look at what happened when we were trying to pass Medicare. Look at what happened when we were trying to pass Social Security. People were tearing it apart, calling LBJ, calling FDR socialist, communist. This is familiar language. And yet it becomes a part of the American fabric, part of the social compact. People's lives improve, and that's what we're seeing today play out with health care.
And Leslie, briefly, since you were in the room, was there any question you felt that the president just didn't answer?
Well, we got responses to everything. I'm sure there's several things that he didn't answer. I mean, I asked him whether or not he got assurances from the Cuban government, whether or not they would try to repeat. In times past, they've sort of sabotaged overtures from American presidents. And he sort of said that, you know, they might do things we don't like. So that's to be seen. But I guess on that question.
Yeah, and sometimes it is the open questions that are interesting. He clearly is reserving judgment on how he's going to deal with the exact North Korea response as well. Leslie Clark and Adam Frankel, thank you both for joining us for the end of the year presser review. In the first interview since announcing he was not charging Officer Darren Wilson for killing unarmed Michael Brown, St. Louis prosecutor Bob McCullough says he did know some of the testimony he put before the grand jury was, quote, not accurate. It's a pretty interesting interview. His first time speaking out, that's coming up.